WhyGuru, 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 WhyGuru,
I don't want to have this divide between the political teachings and the spiritual teachings, but effectively when we say Miri Piri, there are two different things, not different, but they're related. Okay? So I'll talk to you now a lot more about the Piri side. Piri means spiritual. Yeah? A famous saint. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji was called Nanak Shah Fakir, Hindu ka Guru Musalman ka. So he was a Pir. Yeah? In that way. So we talked about the spiritual message, that what is our life, purpose in our life. We're here to connect to God. Guru allows us to fulfill that. Now we talk about the political message. Now look, the first question here is, what's the situation in the world? Ask you, what's going on? You know, why are you worried about this world? This is what it says in Gurbani. The dark age, yeah? If you know what the 4 ages theory, there's 4 ages, Satyug, Treta, Dwapar and Kalyug. We're in Kalyug now. This is the age of untruth, of unenlightenment. Okay? Satyug being the age of truth and enlightenment. So in this age, okay, Guru Nanak Dev Ji has come as the perfect light. And he's come with the most important thing, which is Kirtan. Because Kalyug mein Kirtan, Pradhana. The highest thing in Kalyug is Kirtan, and Guru Granth Sahib Ji is all Kirtan. So it solves that problem. Why is Guru Granth Sahib Ji the most important thing in Kalyug? Because it's full of Kirtan. Okay? So now, it says, the Kalyug is the knife, but who's holding that knife? The kings are the butchers. The kings at the moment are in political exploitation. They're killing people, okay, because of darkness and falsehood. And righteousness, you know, it sprouted wings and it flew away. There's no more dharam left. Okay? Righteousness here is dharam. And in this dark night of falsehood, moon of truth is not visible anywhere. What do we say about Guru Nanak? Chand Chadiya. Chand Chadiya, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is that moon of truth. Okay? And I've searched in vain and I'm so confused. The world is confused. What do we need to do next? It truly is. And then it says here, in darkness I can't find the path. Here, in egotism we cry out in pain. How will we be saved? Okay? So Guru Sahib has come to solve the problems of spiritual malaise and political exploitation. Okay? Miri Piri. Both things are here to solve. And it comes from Gurbani. Now look, like I said, religion and state are related, but they are separate, but they are related as well. Okay? Spirituality, I said here, not religion. Because religion can become like, I'm better than you. This is about spirituality, there's only one God. Okay? And we said that good governance means non-exploitation. Based upon this, if we're going to have good politics, it shouldn't be exploitation. Okay? Then finally, that freedom is an essential part of righteousness. Okay? People need to have freedom. We'll talk about this in a little while. The things that we commonly say, Deg, Fateh, and all these things, yeah, those meanings are just transcended into something. We don't even know what they are. We shout them out all the time with joy. Okay? So, and finally, the truth. If there's somebody to come with the truth, this moon of truth must provide both solutions. Yeah? It must provide a solution for both the spiritual malaise and the political exploitation. Alright. Okay. Now, alright. So, we talked about the spiritual side for us. How about the world? Maharaj says, ki sansar rogi naam daru, mail lage sach bina. That the world is diseased with ego, with home, and God's name is a medicine. Like we said earlier, Naam and Home will kill each other. And finally, without the truth of Ik on God, that there's only one, we are polluted. Until we are Satyara, we are Kudya. Yeah? Give Satyara hoye, give Kude Prutepal. Until we break that wall of truth, we are stuck in falsehood. Then it says, Maharaj says ki, Oho har mal, this is the nice line part here from Guru Ramdas Ji. And Guru Ramdas says, ki, look, those people, they walk on this path. Har marg aap chalda. We're walking on this path here, the path of the saints. They walk on that path, but they also put other people on this path. Har hona nu har marg pave, jan Nanak tis pal harne jo aap jape avra naam japaye. Nanak is sacrificed to that person. He will kill himself for that person. If there's a choice between Guru Nanak Dev Ji and somebody who's putting people on God's path, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, I would put my life down. Let that person live on. Why? Because that person is getting people, he's jumping now and is putting people on that path. Okay, this is what Guru Sahib is telling for us. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji did that. For the Panth, they sacrificed their 4 children and their father. They've done that. The Balharane, it's not just a joke, it's not something they wrote up. They didn't do. Guru Arjan Dev Ji did it himself. He was sacrificed for us. And then Maharaj says, Ki, so here's a question. Is our aim to convert everyone to Sikhi? Okay? Because people get confused later. We always say, we don't preach. But we don't actually tell people about Sikhi either. So what's the middle line? Okay? The middle line is this. Maharaj says, Ki, Jagat Jalanda Rakhle Apni Kirpata. The world is burning, WhyGuru. Burning in this ego, and shower it with your mercy. Whichever way it can be saved, save it. Doesn't matter if someone can become Christian and go to God. Good, go to God. Doesn't matter if someone goes and becomes a Muslim and goes to God. Doesn't matter. Good. Find God, say God's name. Let's form relationships and partnerships with people of other religions who are trying to do the same thing, as in build a just and equitable society for the whole world. It's only going to come from the good people. We'll talk about this in a second. So, Maharaj is saying here, live a spiritual life and a moral life, and set the example for other people. Okay? And finally, the aim is not conversion, but encourage others to connect to the path. If someone wants to know about Sikhi, great. We've got Sikhi to teach them that. Someone wants to know more about Christianity, don't say to them, no, Christianity is crap, come to Sikhi. That's not the way it works. Yeah? But be available to teach people about Sikhi. Know it yourself at least, and live it yourself. Okay, this is a repeat of the previous ones about righteousness. And again, Dharam in total comes from seva and compassion at a society level. Society needs to be seva orientated, compassion orientated. Okay? So a compassionate and desireless service will build the foundations of a truly just society. Okay? When society as a whole starts to serve people, when the basic needs are being met, the Maslow hierarchy, yeah? And people actually look at someone who's suffering, they don't think, I'm glad it's not me. When they start thinking, oh, poor person, let me try to help that person, what do you need? That's when a society comes to become just and equitable. And guess who's here to provide that? We've been given that teaching by Guruji. Okay? So Guru is building that society to set an example for the world. The Sikh Gurdwara is an example of how people should behave. And recently I saw an article in the Huffington Post, and it was about people that had been to a Gurdwara. They were atheists, and they got together and they'd gone to a Gurdwara for a visit, after what happened in America with the Wisconsin attack. And one guy says to the other guy, and he wrote this in the he goes, I said to my colleague from the Humanist Society, he goes, why don't we have this? Langar. Why don't we feed people for free? That's a good way of doing service. So we're setting the example. Yeah? Don't feel like, oh, you guys doing langar, that's like our langar, you should be doing langar. It's for Sikhs to do langar. No. Everybody should do langar. This is the example. It's for every Jagat Guru. Yeah? And then, langar seva are part of that personality training for us. The Gurdwara is two parts. Go and learn Kirtan and Gurbani and understand the message. Go and serve. Learn that there, and then go outside and apply it. It's a training school. No longer has it become a training school. It's become the only place to do it now. It's become the place. But it should be a training school for us to go and do this outside. And finally, going back to what we talked about, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, who is he? Sent by God. What the words he's speaking, spoken by God. What's he trying to do? Get us back to God. So God did this. WhyGuru created Guru in order to show us how things should work. This is how things should work. The solution. Then here's an important part now. This is when we talk back to Dharam. What did we talk about Dharam a second ago? Guru Gobind Singh Ji says clearly why he's come upon this earth. Hum ek kaaj jagat mein aaye. I've come on this world for this reason. Dharam het Gurudev pathai. Now WhyGuru Ji sent me upon this earth to set up Dharam. Jahan tahan tum dharam patharo. Wherever you go, spread it everywhere. Spread righteousness everywhere. WhyGuru said to him, these are words of WhyGuru said to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Jahan tahan tum. Hey Guru Gobind Singh Ji, go out there and spread Dharam everywhere, and dusht dokhin pakar pachharo. Defeat, seize and defeat, and knock the tyrants out. And the evildoers, knock them out as well. So we've got a good point for that reason. Okay? You see now the message is not about keeping it to ourselves. And then it says, Yahi kaj tara ham janam. This is the only reason I took on this human birth. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was doing meditation and he didn't want to come upon the earth. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, WhyGuru said to him, go, set this up. We need this in the world. We need this example, this society. And then it says, Samaj leho sadhu sab man. Listen, O sadhus, know this in yourself. This is why I came upon the earth. Finally, this is my aim. Taram chiravan sant ubaran dust savan ko mool uparan. I've come here to serve the holy people and to spread dharma and destroy the wickedness. Political teachings start with this, okay? It starts with the destruction of exploitation. People who are exploiting, okay, political exploitation, needs to stop. Who's going to stop it? Somebody has to do it. There's a famous quote, yeah? All that evil needs to prosper is for good men to do nothing, or good people to do nothing. So if the light of Kali Yuga comes upon the earth, the light of Kali Yuga needs to teach people how to stop this evil from prospering. There's no evil in Sikhi, yeah? Where there's this, where there's not dharam and there's dush dokyan, the people that are actually doing bad stuff, how do we stop them? Guruji has a solution, which is the saint soldier idea of the Khalsa. It's not for no joke that Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave the Khalsa the 5 Ks. He said, stand up there, look distinct and go out there and fight. This is our aim. We've come here to destroy the tyrants and set up a just society for the whole planet. Big aim, huh? We've already been around for 500 years. Yeah? And we're going to do it. That's why it says Raj Kariye Khalsa. That's our aim. Mara says Khalsa Akal Purak Ki Fauj. The Khalsa has come as the very army of that immortal being. If the immortal being was on the planet, this is what the immortal being would do. It's our Khalsa's mission. Same mission. The Khalsa says, WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa. I am the Khalsa of WhyGuru. Not anybody else, I'm the Khalsa of WhyGuru. WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. I have come for WhyGuru's victory. WhyGuru's victory is Dharam. Where there is Dharam, there is WhyGuru. When Guru Gobind Singh has come with that mission, we've come to set the same thing up.
Sorry,
Now,
so the previous quotes, where did they come from?
they're from Guru Gobind Singh's body, from Dasan body.
Okay, but doesn't Guru Gobind Singh Ji say Guru Mani Granth, like...
That's not from Guru Gobind Singh's own writings. That's from Gyani Gyan Singh. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, of course. But this Guru is saying this is his mission. When Guruji tells you his mission, doesn't mean he's saying don't believe in Guru Granth Sahib. Guru Granth Sahib teaches us what is Dharam.
I mean, we're sitting at Oxford University, so just to be clear, Raj Kariye Khalsa isn't from Guru Gobind Singh's Bani. Apparently it was a declaration made by Banda Singh Bahadur during...
No, it's Guru Gobind Singh speaking to Bhai Nandlal quite clearly in the Rehatname. And Guru Gobind Singh tells Bhai Nandlal in the Tankhanama.
Okay,
he
so
says at the end
from
of
the
it,
Rehatnama.
it's from the Rehatnama, Raj Kariye Khalsa. It's from there. Raj Akir Nabi Kawar Hui Sabne Bachi Charan Jo Hai Ud Gayi Sabha Mali Ki Tankura Pasa Tanka Pati Fatega. So anyway, the point is, that's from Guru Gobind Singh's Bani. It's repeated many times, it's not just there. Yeah? And if he says, Oikonka Sri WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh, yeah? The victory of WhyGuru. So this is the aim. The aim is to set up a truly just world, based upon the ideals of compassion. Because Dharam comes from compassion. So compassionate society means a just society. And the Khalsa, doing seva of the world, establishes this society. And here we have the main things that we shout out. Deg, Deg, Fateh. Again from Guru Gobind Singh's Bani. Yeah? This is not things that made up. These are from the beginning. And it says, what does Deg, Deg mean? Deg means food. You know when they have langar, prashadi Deg? That's Deg. Langar is Deg. Deg actually means a kettle drum. You know where they make the food. So food. And for me, food means the basic needs. Education, medicine. These things, if you have the Maslow hierarchy, the first one is food and shelter. So a Gurdwara provides that. A Gurdwara is supposed to provide food and medicine. In the old days, the definition of a Gurdwara was they would have medicine, they would have food, and they would have shelter. It provides the basic needs for everybody. All the basic needs for the whole planet to be met. And we have more than enough resource on this planet to meet everybody's needs already. We just throw them down the drain. Okay? And then it says Teg. Teg means a sword. Okay? Now what does a sword represent for us? It's kirpan, to do kirpa upon others. It's a weapon of grace. It's there to defend only, it's there to protect people. So therefore it is freedom. The Teg represents freedom and justice and God's grace. When someone begs God to save them, who's there to do that job for God? The Khalsa. Yeah? The Khalsa is there to do that exact job. That's what WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh means. Okay? And then the Fateh is a victory. So victory to this. Victory to the ideals of freedom and justice and basic needs. That's what we're shouting. A great thing to shout out, isn't it? But let's shout it properly, let's do it. Next one. What does this require? Yeah? On a personal level, you know, the Sikhs, they aspire to this saintly soldier ideal. But where does it stem from? If you can't go, we can't make it one-sided only. Yeah? Because in that line I told you about what's happening in Kali Yuga, the beginning line, that the world is like the life, the Kali Yuga is the knife and the kings are the butchers. This is the next Shabad. Okay, and I'll go to the third one after this one in a little while. It says here, in this dark age of Kali Yuga, the Kirtan came as a light upon the world. Okay, how rare are those Gurmukhs who swim across to their side. The Lord gives His Kirpa, O Nanak, the Gurmukh receives a jewel. Yeah, Guru Amardas Ji writes this. So again, the bicycle of Sikhi, we can take Seva and Simran, but Seva of the world involves setting up Dharam and serving everybody, okay? Protecting them and serving them. And also, we can say Bani Bana. The inner line, the inner word of this, and then the outer. Inner and outer, they come together, Bani Bana. So we need to have an independent mindset. As Sikhs, we need to start thinking independently and relying only upon our Guru. No matter what the world is doing, we need to think, what's Guru Sahib saying? Independence of mind, independence of thought. Okay? I'll come back to a little while to this idea of democracy that's happening in the world. That's not a Sikh ideal. We need to free ourselves from that independence. Independent mindset means freeing ourselves from that same almost accepted, dogma of democracy. No fear of death or misfortune. As I put misfortune in because people are happy to die for Sikhi. Like if you walked into a Gurdwara, on an average day, if you walked into a Gurdwara and said, who's prepared to die now for Guru Granth Sahib Ji? Somebody walks in with a gun to shoot, people would dive in front of Guru Granth Sahib, because they love. But who's prepared to live it every day? Who's prepared to die every day for it? So you can die for Sikhi, but can you live for it every day? That's the test. Yeah? And Maharaj is saying here that even if misfortune happens to you, stick to it. Look at Bhairajwana. How did he inspire people? Because he embraced that misfortune. Yeah? He said, I don't care about it. What I want is to live Sikhi. And then I said, look, you serve as the example and spread that message of Gurbani and Naam. And when I say serve that example, that means also to, whenever you see injustice, step in. That's what the Kirpan means. You are not an spectator. You are an armed policeman. Okay, and I talked about this now. At the Panthic level, okay? To get that independent mindset at the individual level, at the Panthic level, we actually need to be independent. Okay? We need to be independent in terms of our institutions, in terms of our Gurdwara, and actually, at the ideal level, when we get the Khalsa, where the Khalsa needs to aspire towards, is an independent army. Now I say this because the UN does not have an army. A good example is the UN. The UN is designed with its charter to set up some kind of justice across the earth, yeah? What the UN lacks is an army. So what the UN does is it asks every country to give a little bit of manpower. And the rich countries don't bother. So what happens is, the rich countries pay their poor countries to provide the soldiers to provide the UN army. That's why you get soldiers from India going off to do peacekeeping missions in Africa. Because the US soldiers don't really want to go, right? And so the Indians get paid for it. And the Pakistanis get paid for it. What do they do? Are they there to set up Dharam? No. A lot of the times they get done. They've done drug smuggling, rape, all this stuff happens. The Khalsa needs to provide the army for the planet. So what I said is basically, think about this whichever way you want to look at it, but in the future, there will be an SAS, which is going to be Khalsa. And they'll be going into places. I've jumped ahead now. So the own kingdom needs to be armed, strong, fearless, and ruled by the Khalsa only. I talked about this point last. Ruled by the Khalsa only. Okay? The Akal Takht is an important point for us to know. This is a throne of God. Takht means throne. Akal means the timeless, immortal, WhyGuru. So who sat on WhyGuru's throne? If God had a throne, Guruji built it, who sat on it? Guruji. Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji built it and then sat there. And before Guru Granth Sahib Ji went into the Harmandir Sahib, the temple of God, Hari Mandir, who sat there? Guru Ranjit Ji. Yeah? So you see now who Guru knows who he is. He's not afraid to say who he is. He says, Satgur vich aap rakhiyon, kar pragat aap sunaya. That God has come and sat in the Guru. And he's telling everybody, I've come as a light. Yeah? And now we see that Guru calls himself Sache Pasha. You heard this word before? Sache Pasha. The true king. We talked about it at the very beginning. He's the true king in this world and the next. So the Khalsa sees Guru as the true king. So why do they bow to another? They don't. So stumbling blocks upon this Panthic ideal here, loads of them, like a landmine in front of us. Yeah. First one I said here is seeking unity, not uniformity. The reason I've gone into these stumbling blocks is because actually everybody's talking about the Khalsa ideal, well, some people are actually talking about the Khalsa ideal, but no one's saying, look, how can we actually do this? Yeah? Not just talk about it and shout it out and WhyGuru Khalsa and Dev Fateh. What's the steps? How are we going to do this? First one is we have to seek unity, not uniformity. That means, uniformity means everybody looks the same and talks the same. That's not going to happen. Okay? Because we're too widespread. Okay? So we need to seek unity. That means ignoring the differences and seeking to unite on what we share. Okay? So somebody comes up and says, Bhai Sahib, I don't believe in Dasam Granth Sahib and this is my thing. Alright, but do you agree upon the fact that Gurbani and Amrit is made from the Dasam Baniyan? Yeah? Alright. And do you believe that we should read Part and etc. and live this right? Yes. Well, let's just agree to disagree about this part. That's exactly what the Panth did many years ago. They decided to disagree about Dasam Granth Sahib Ji and just leave it and not argue about it. But we keep arguing about it now. We decided not to just argue about me, but we still argue about it. So what I said here is that actually there's non-issues. So I've jumped ahead here. There's non-issues created to divide us. When I say created, they're actually created. Okay? These things didn't exist. In the next couple of years, you're going to see meat come up as a big issue. There's a prediction from Bhai Sahib here, yeah? There is actually going to be a problem because one of the people that's going to come back into Punjab politics is a person who wants to be doing this. Okay? So these issues, and that's why I said the second part, is although we want to be united and forget about uniformity, the problem is that India, where most of the Sikhs are, they worry about this ideal that we just talked about. Because this ideal is not just Khalistan. It can't be. There's Panch Takhts. Where's two of the Takhts of Panch Takhts? One's out the way up in Patna Sahib in Bihar. So if India was like, if I was the map of India, and over here is China and Malaysia, and over here is Pakistan, right? There's Punjab right here, and then right out here is Patna Sahib. Okay, well out there in Bihar. And right down here is Hazur Sahib. So this little ideal that's sold to us. It wasn't the one that we wanted, it was sold to us. Yeah? And we bought it. But the bigger ideal is Delhi Takhte Baithegi Aap Guru Ki Fauj. The Guru's Fauj will sit on the Takht of Delhi, the throne of Delhi. So actually the 1% of India that controls India, yeah? We talked about the Occupy movement, 1%, 99%, yeah? The 1% fears this independent Sikh mentality. Because the Sikhs have been the most vocal people in any of this stuff about freedom. So therefore, there's a famous quote, a Sikh is either a Baghi or a Pasha. A Sikh is either a king or a rebel with a cause. Okay? If you're not a Baghi, you're a king. But if you're a king, yeah, then you control everything. If you don't control it, you have to rebel. Because unless that Raj is set up by Guruji and is focusing on the principles of Guruji, it's always going to fall short. It will always fall short. And I'll talk about this in a little while again. So there's non-issues created to divide us. And you can talk about non-issues all day long. That's why on the channel we just don't talk about them. In videos all the time, Paji, will you talk about me? Will you talk about Rehat? Will you talk about Sarablo? Will you talk about... No, I won't, because no one knows the basics. To focus on the basics. And then I said, look, we need to disseminate the Guru's message for humanity. This message, when it starts getting out now, slowly you're seeing it in other places. I mean, a famous quote from Bertrand Russell, I think it was, who said that the Sikhs are actually most guilty for not spreading their message. Okay? And that's one of the things. Guruji has come as Jagat Guru. And the famous line is, Guru Nanak Jag Mahe Pathaya. Suni Pukar Datar Prabh. We talked about that God heard the cries of the people. Where did he send Guru Nanak Ji? Jag, in the world. He sent him to the world. So he's for everybody, Jagat Guru.
I just always wanted to know where those Russell quotes came from.
Oh, I don't know, man. I honestly tried to search for them so much. But anyway, I think even if whoever it was, whether it was Russell or not, he's spot on. Yeah? We are to blame for this message not getting out. But actually, we can understand historically why this has happened. Because of all the things that have happened to our Panth and all the struggles we've gone through, we haven't actually get our act together about disseminating this message. Okay? There's a media war on us right now. Massive media war. Every time we say human rights, they say Khalistan. 10 people stand up and say, we want human rights, we want freedom, we want justice for 84. Newspapers print, 10 Khalistanis got together and they were shouting Khalistan Zindabad. It's a massive, you know, it's ingrained in India. And the problem is that when we talk about India, it's even here as well, yeah? We know, if we do good things, it doesn't get in the media. Bad stuff gets in the media straight away. It's happening to change now with Balpreet Kaur, etc. But look what happened with J.K. Rowling's When J.K. Rowling's put up a book saying that she really loves Sikhi, because of the egalitarian principles of Sikhi, she was prepared to almost become a Sikh. Just because, not in the spirituality, egalitarian principles, man, that's like the first step. Remember Dharam's first step? And there's a whole thing about now. Just because of that. And check this out. What happened? The SGPC president in India bans the book. For what reason? He ain't read it. It's a media war against us. Our institutions are corrupt. Okay? Because we are so dangerous. We are dangerous. Believe you me, the Khalsa Panth, when he stands up on his feet, it's a roaring lion and people are going to run away. And that's what Bhai Gurdas calls Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He says, when the lion shouts in the jungle, the deer run away. The Khalsa Panth is coming. That he sings for Khade again.
I think you've just hit the nail on the head there with that last statement regarding J.K. Rowling. Dr. Indrajit Singh came on the Today programme and said it's a shame that it took J.K. Rowling to get such a strong message across and we were unable to get it across ourselves. But the point I wanted to make was regarding this media war, don't you think we are just as guilty, I don't know who you mean by the media, in terms of corrupting the message that we want to get across? And I'll give you an example. During the Rajwana, you know, when we all knew who he was, obviously we've forgotten who he is now because that message didn't stand the test of 4 months.
Some people have, yeah.
If we can remember something after 4 months, then I think it's a message that's going to survive. But during that issue, we had the protests in Birmingham outside the Indian embassy. And the Naujawan kept stressing that we're not going to shout Khalistan slogans, that we need to get the message across. And within 10 minutes,
didn't happen.
You know, that's all we were shouting.
You know, if you go on YouTube and type in like Sikhs burning flags, there's one guy burning every flag. There's one guy with a turban and orange and different coloured turbans and his beard. He is burning every flag going. There's RSS people that have taken Amrit. RSS is the Russia, whatever, the fundamental side of the Hindu BJP, they've actually taken Amrit and they go to all these protests and they burn flags looking like Sikhs. Believe you me, there is a massive media war going on right now. And the media war is just one part. Go into YouTube, type in the Faceless War, done by Sarojit Singh Rajwana TV. If you watch that, you'll be shocked. They're killing Punjab in so many ways you don't even know it's happening. So the media war is a big problem. Whenever we talk about human rights, we get labelled as separatists. What's the problem with being labelled as separatist? The Indians want to keep India together. From a very young age, they're told the idea of India Ma. India is a mother. And the Desh Bhagat means the patriot. This is massive in India. Okay? So we cannot fight against these people if we try to talk about independence. Because the biggest, largest army in the world, nuclear weapons, trying to get a seat in the UN Council. Fair enough, people want to shout for Khalistan, but what about Khalsa Raj? That's the slogan that we got from Guruji, Raj Kriya Khalsa. So this is the thing that we need to focus back on. So what I said here is that we need to harness our potential towards development. Okay, there is problems going on. Like for example, Nasham Sher is from the NSYF. That's an organisation that was set up to combat this exact problem. Okay, misrepresentation. And he's now the first media rep, full-time paid. We haven't got one in the country. Use full-time media representative. You know? We need to be harnessing our potential towards this kind of stuff. And here's what I said. I said, look, we need to stop building funds, okay, and do fundamentals building. Because I was hearing about Gurdwara, was it Nottingham you were saying, 2.5 million or whatever. 2.5 million, oh my God, Satsangaji. With 200,000 you could change the face of this country. 5 full-time pracharaks with budgets of 20 grand each, going across the whole country, teaching basics of Sikhi, simple stuff, and teaching the fundamentals of Sikhi. Can you imagine that? Full-time pracharaks doing this. That's 200 grand a year. Multiply 2.5 million in the bank would probably give enough interest to pay all these salaries off all the time. I remember that first Muslim guy that won the lottery, you know, the rollover jackpot, and he was like not supposed to gamble. Yeah, I remember that guy. And I remember the quote. So his community shunned him. But he won whatever, 19 million, I think he won, or something he was, or 10 million. And this guy, he won this money, and he put it into a bank account, and they said the interest on that bank account was giving something like 30 grand a month or something. Goodness. Our community is spending money, and I'll tell you one thing, every Gurdwara you know, as soon as they get out of debt, will go back into debt. Do you know why they go back into debt? Because if they have money hanging around, they have to spend it on what? If you've got a building and you haven't got a building fund, what do you spend it on? On prachar and Sikhi. They don't want to do it. There's infiltrators in every single Gurdwara.
I just wanted to say what Paisa said about how in Nottingham, I was reading the article about they spent 2.5 million on a Gurdwara. And this is the real state that we're in. If we're taking a real example of what Paisa was saying, just underneath that article there was an article about how 2 men raped a 17-year-old girl. If we're living in a society where our community can spend 2.5 million pounds on building buildings, why can't we as a society develop the ideals of our Guru, which are worth more than 2.5 million, so that we create a society that Paisa was talking about, where we as Sikhs represent the righteousness and dharam, rather than building buildings and setting up these institutions which are inevitably going to be ruled by corrupt politically, committees that aren't going to really allow us as a nation to bring our ideals out and to really bring the message out of our Gurus into the entire world.
It starts with the very, very basics. The problem is, the Gurdwara's got a title, which is Pradhan. And they call, Satsang ji, assi tode sevadar hege, but I'm the Pradhan. How did you become the Pradhan? Then call yourself the Sevadar. There should be no such title as Pradhan. They should call yourself Sevadar. And what's responsibility is not in our community. So you got all these titles, but no responsibility. Something goes wrong, it wasn't me to blame, it was this guy. Right? So why don't you put responsibility back in, calling the Sevadar to blame? Which Gurdwara committee is going to have you join up to become the Mukh Sevadar to blame? No one wants to blame. No one wants to blame. They want the power and the title. So we flipped everything. Previously, the guy who was doing Chor Sahib, Nawab Kapoor Singh, who saw the horses, he became the head of the whole Panth. He got the Nawab Kapoor Singh. Read his history. What was he doing at that time? He happened to be doing Seva of Guruji. Right? These are the kind of people that we had in our Panth. They were Sevadars at the front. They were fighting in the front lines. How many Pradhans nowadays could stand up and do Panj Baniya, Muj Bani, memorize 5 Baniya, and do the Amrit Sanchar, and be there every morning doing the Kirtan or Simran? They don't even see them in the Gurdwara sometimes. They don't even see them in the Sangat part. They just come in and go straight into their rooms. Anyway, point is, we need to remind ourselves of our mission. The point of today was to remind us, what's our mission? Our mission is first, spread dharam, spread naam, do it ourselves, and then destroy the tyrants. So the next part we're going to go into is at a global level now. What needs to happen? Okay. WhyGuru Khalsa means that the Khalsa will rule the world. Okay. If you didn't know that, so say it again. WhyGuru Khalsa means the Khalsa will rule the world. Okay. And if you watch this song by the Gore Sikhs, yeah, it's called the Song of the Khalsa. And at the end of it, it says, and the Khalsa will rule the world, and all will be safe in its fold. But if the Khalsa fails, there won't be a world at all. This is what it means, yeah? This is 70s, they sang this song. The Khalsa will rule the world. Uday Ast, from where the sun sets, rises to where the sun sets. This is what Uday Ast lo Jeeta. We're going to win that. Okay? This is the winning team we're on. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji will make sure this happens. And this is going to be a Raj. We're going to seize power for the plebeian mission of that 99%. This is our aim mission, okay? We are the 99%, but we're the armed 99%. We're the ones fighting for 99%. We're the saintly ones, not the ones that are just there to exploit the movement. When I went to the occupied camp, they had to have men up there guarding the camp every day because the women were getting hassled. Yeah? So within the 99%, it's not like all lovey-doo, we're all friends. Yeah? Even they have to defend themselves. Halim Miraj. We're here to provide a compassionate kingdom. The basis must be compassionate work. Okay. Finally, we need to destroy the tyrants. So 2 ideas I had was a Khalsa rapid reaction force, like the SAS. We hear Janjaweed sitting shooting people up in Sudan. Bang. 2 helicopter gunships go over there, slot them all, come back, job done, guys. Then comes in the peacekeeping force. Well, if you think this is funny, Guru Gobind Singh Ji exactly is what he's planning for. This is what is planned, yeah? The Khalsa, there's a story, the singers came back, they were starving, they'd come back, and they heard that there was a woman being abducted. They left their food, and they went there, they said, look, if that food is meant for us, we'll have it when we come back. And they left. They went there, did fateh and came back, had the food. This is true, this is our history, this is what we've done. This isn't some joke that this is like, oh, this is what they did. The Khalsa did this. Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, this is what the Khalsa did. When people got attacked, they came to the Khalsa and the Khalsa went out there and fought back and killed people. Yeah? And they brought the righteousness back into the place. This isn't some like, yeah, we're just dreaming about it. This happened and it will happen again. We just forgot the fundamentals. And the Khalsa peacekeeping force needs to be there as well. What do they provide? Deg, fateh. Protect and serve. That's the Khalsa ideal. And finally, I talked about basic needs here already. Food, education, medicine, freedom and equality. Equality is quite important because actually a lot of places don't have freedom and equality. Yeah? There's no equality like, you know, in some Saudi Arabia you can't drive cars if you're a woman. But that's against the Khalsa Panth ideals. But actually we wouldn't go there and just like, you know, fight them just to do that. Exploitation has to start first. It's like building up slowly. Everybody should be fed, everybody should have education, everybody should have medicine. And then you can start building upon the ideals of freedom and equality, okay? Now here's the question, why is this Raj needed? Why does the Khalsa need to rule the world? Okay? Why does the Khalsa need to be independent? This is what it says in Gurbani. Guru Gobind Singh Ji, Raj bina nahi taram chale hain. Taram bina sab dale male hain. Without Raj, without ruling, you cannot establish righteousness. That's the mission, remember, righteousness. And it comes from compassion. You cannot have a compassionate kingdom, righteous kingdom, without Raj, without ruling over it. And without this righteousness, everything is messed up. You just can't, nothing will be right. We're in that world right now. So, here's it, who rules the Khalsa Raj, okay? And I believe it can only be ruled by the Panch Pyare. It can't be anybody else. The reason for that is when I talked about the Shabad that Guruji wrote about what Kali Yuga is like, and I said the Kirtan has come as a light to free us, the next Shabad is this one. Okay? So the answer is given by step. What's the problem? What's the Gurmukh's answer, the Kirtan? And what's then the problem that will happen after the Gurmukhs become enlightened and start living that life and achieving the Khalsa? This is the problem. Between the Lord's devotees and the people of the world, there can never be any true alliance. We are walking a path which is very, very distinct. It's trying to establish something very pure, without any desire, nishkam seva of the whole planet. We're not going to go out there to Africa and start a 5 janja weed and then straight after set up a Gurdwara and say you all got to become Sikh. That's not our mission. Every single Dharam has that mission. Go there, save people, spread their religion. We're not going to do that. I read with much joy an article on SikhNet where they set up a food camp in Los Angeles, the Yuba city. The Sikhs set up, and they said, fundamentally to our mission is that we will not preach Sikhi. People ask us, that's fine, but there's nothing in there about preaching Sikhi. They don't want to confuse the two. Like when we do prachar now, when we go out there and do prachar, I don't want to go to prachar and start taking food for people. I don't want to, somebody said, because we're going to start doing prachar on the streets in South and in Shepherd's Bush, yeah? Set up a desk and give people leaflets. And that's not done anymore at all. But obviously it happened back in the day when it spread. But at that point, we're not going to have like, somebody said, oh, we'll have some samosa and some chop. So what, am I confusing the two here? People think, have a samosa, become a Sikh. No, it needs to be separate. Prachar is prachar and seva is seva. Nishkam seva, without desire for any results. We cannot, you know what happened with Ranjit Singh's kingdom? Why did it crash? Firstly, he wasn't ready for the Khalsa ideal. Yeah? And secondly, he didn't really trust the Khalsa either. And the third thing is that he had all these other people that were in charge of the kingdom, who weren't Khalsa. So their interests were their own interests. They weren't the Khalsa interests. Yeah? So what happened? It all collapsed. Dogra sold him out.
Why didn't he trust the Khalsa?
Because the Khalsa was a bit more, is like, you know, trying to do stuff for the Khalsa. He was about himself. He was a, you know, Sukhacharya missile. He was the ruler of that missile. He wanted to set up a Raj in which he could, you know, enjoy power. He was a king, yeah? He was not a Khalsa king. Okay? The Khalsa is here to serve the planet. Ranjit Singh was there to serve himself. He had a good life. He had a good life. While he lived it out. Won some battles, people adored him. Line of Punjab. But he wasn't there to set up the Khalsa Raj for the planet. Okay? If he had, he would have thought about how to have a transition from his Raj to the Khalsa Raj. Yeah? He would have taken power and given it away to the Khalsa. But he didn't. So therefore, we practice the truth and only the truth. And nothing else. This way is just purely the truth. Nothing else. No bakwas, no ego, just simple. Sacha maru chaldiyan, ustat kare jahan. The world, if you tell the world this path, everybody will praise it. Not one person on the planet will say this is wrong. They will praise this path. They need someone to do it though, innit? Yeah? To walk it and live it, and that's the Khalsa. Okay, the Khalsa says, Maharaj, I'll do it. Now, we serve WhyGuru, become the slaves of WhyGuru, get rid of selfishness and conceit. And then, having done this, when we go to the court of our Lord, our faces are radiant. Nanak te mukha ujjale. See the end of the side? It concludes with the same mission. If we do this, our faces will be honoured in that court. We will get that reward that we don't even really want, but it'd be nice to have. That we welcome into the court of God. Aajo. You know? Jaya, Jaya, Jaya Solo. When Guru Tegh Bahadurji left, the world cried, but the heavens, they exploded with joy. That look, a great saint is coming to us. And the Shabad is the one that's going to keep us together. Everything is about the Shabad. We stay away from Shabad, we stay away from Sikhi. It's not going to happen. Shabad needs to be buried inside us. So the Khalsa, I said, is the epitome of the Guru's mission upon this earth. That's what they came to set up. Okay? Sovereignty of the common person. That's what it is. Every single person can become a Singh or a core part of an ideal. I studied Rousseau here at university. You know, and Rousseau talks about the person can give their sovereignty to the collective. This is what the Khalsa does. The Khalsa accepts the sovereignty of the Khalsa Panth, the individual sovereigns within a sovereign collective. Spiritually enlightened, fearless, without hate, and looking to serve. And here it says, Khalsa mera Satguru pura, Khalsa mero sajjan sura. The Khalsa Guru says, is my complete true Guru. The Khalsa is my warrior friend. And then, the Khalsa will create Satju. He's here to create this age of enlightenment. Spread Dharam and truth. Finally, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, going back to Guru Nanak Dev's own mission. What did he come here for? Kal Taran Guru Nanak Aya. Why does this all relate back? It's not just Guru Gobind Singh's mission. It starts from the very beginning. The Bani keeps us together. Guru Sahib has come to swim us across Kal Yug. There's 4 yugs. After this 4th yug, we won't go back to Treta and Dwapar. We'll go straight to Satyug. We're here to set up the age of enlightenment. So, it's the same mission, it's the same Guru in 10 forms. Now, we have the Guru Khalsa Panth and the Guru Granth. The two things work together. The Panth depends on the Granth. And the Granth looks at the Panth to carry out the work that is telling us to do. And finally, the Word, you got the Word and those that follow the Word. That's what it is. The Word, those who follow the Word. Alright. There's a bit of time for questions. I'm not sure what time it is. 5-10 minutes. Okay, and then also I said, look, as I done on a YouTube channel, some of the recommended videos I put up there, which is like, what is the mission of Sikhism? This is about the Khalsa Raj. Fearless living. And it's about Paira Joanna. Why is he fearless? What is it about Sikhi that makes people fearless? This part 2 hasn't come out yet. It'll be about 10 months. Are there two types of Sikhs? Are there 2 types of Sikhs? This is important because there's people that follow Sikhi and there's the ones that live Sikhi. And it's important to know the distinction because some people say Guru is just wisdom. Some people say Guru is Satguru. He has come with a full epitome of the truth and I need to follow it. And then what is the Khalsa? What is this ideal? We talk about it all the time. I did 5 different perspectives on the same ideal, yeah? And they all work together. And then the final one is, why do Sikhs wear turbans and have long hair? Problem is, people don't sell this properly. They just talk about the Khalsa being the 5Ks and blah blah. It's much more than the 5Ks. The Panch Pyare went to take Amrit? No. They didn't go to take Amrit. They didn't go to Panch Kakars. They went, where did they go for? What did they expect to happen when they stood up and said, I'll do it? What was going to happen next?
Their head chopped off.
Head's going to get chopped off. Yeah, they're going to die. Shabad. They're going to die in the Shabad. They're going to die for their Guru. They come with their head in the palm of their hands. They played that game of love. And then, what did they get back? They were reborn. They reborn. They got a new surname, born into Guru's family, a new father, a new mother, and a new place they were born at, Anandpur Sahib. And then they're given a new way of living. Every morning do this, live this way, look this way. Totally different from before. And then, what's the point? It's to establish this dharma. New mission. Not new mission, same mission, but now we have someone to carry it out. Someone who's responsible. The Khalsa Panth is responsible for this. This is our job. It's not our job that we aspire to. It's what falls on our shoulders. It's what we take on. If you take Amrit, this is the job you're signing up for. To be that peacekeeper, to be that destroyer of the tyrants, to be that Naam Japanwala. Don't do it otherwise. Don't just do it for Mukti. This is the job you have to work for. World emancipation, political justice. Same soldier. So I must have made loads of mistakes. I'm sorry for all the mistakes I've made, and the Sangat hopefully will forgive me. So leave time for questions. WhyGuru Course. WhyGuru Course.
Couple people, don't be shy. I think it's quite interesting. I mean, you know, I do agree with the saint soldier ideal. I think it's important to have discussions like these and also teach in the correct manner, because obviously with great power comes great responsibility. And sometimes, just through observation, I think people get enwrapped with the whole soldier ideal, and you know, people get their Gurbans out for really small reasons, or even stupid reasons, really. So it is about kind of that teaching of actually, you know, it is about compassion. If there is another way, great. Let's find that way.
Yeah.
You know, if it's through maybe writing an article or doing a protest, etc. And the Gurban is the last resort. You know, ideally we don't want to go around killing people, but
Guru Gobind Singh himself killed people.
that's what I'm saying. That it was the last. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying like.
No, I know what you're saying. The thing is, you've got to remember that it's 1 hour talk. I can't fit it all in. So yes, you're right, that the way the use of force, there's a whole theory about the use of force in Sikhi, and it needs to be out there. And the first, obviously, the famous quote is, when all else has failed, all else means have failed, then it's the right to pick up the Kirpan, yeah? Chukar Azama, you know, the famous quote. So this is the Sikh ideal. But nowadays, unless we know where we're heading, we will never walk on that path. You know, destination, you know destination first. The destination is Khalsa over the whole planet. Destination is Panth's independence. Destination is that, you know, Guru Gobind Singh Ji's words and his mission is accomplished. That there's not one person on this planet who cannot turn to the Khalsa and ask for help. Yeah? If we ever got that ideal, no, you know, unless we tell people this is what we, because you know, what do they say, people that join, why do people follow football teams? Because they think they're going to win, yeah? There's all these people that are called, what they're called, convenient fans or whatever, yeah? They just jump on the bandwagon. And what's our bandwagon? You're going to buy the Khalsa, you've got to know what it's trying to do. People aren't buying it because all they see is people, you know, 5Ks in the Gurdwara being quite harsh. What are we doing? In this country, right, I'm reading a book called Selling Olga, yeah? It's about forced prostitution by girls from Vietnam and Eastern Europe. In this country, in Hounslow and Southall, there are women right now trapped in a room. They can't leave that room. No passport, and they're raped every day. And it's called prostitution. And the police don't do anything about it. You're not interested. You understand that? They are sisters of ours. Guru says, see every other woman but yours as your sister or your mother. Now, those are our sisters who are doing that. And we would do anything for our sisters. So where's the Khalsa doing anything for them? Here we got all our Khalsa Panth, we armed them. What are we doing about it? We should have a Khalsa force here. If we go to jail, if people say, oh, well, we might get done by the police for vigilantism and go to jail. If there's an Amritari Singh in this country goes to jail for fighting against Albanian, you know, women traffickers, I will salute that person. That's what why do we salute by Rajwana? Because he's doing that. So that's, even if we go to jail, I see Bagi ya Pasha. We got to be rebels or we got to be kings. This country will not live up to the ideals of Sikhi. It comes not close, it comes like 50% of terms of morality and justice. It's a long way away. So we got to take it further. The world is coming towards Sikhi. Yeah? Discrimination laws and all this stuff, they're coming towards Sikhi, but we've got a long way to go.
And this is why the Sikhs are such a threat. Throughout the history of South Asia, Sikhs have always been a threat against Mughal imperialism, British imperialism, Afghan invaders, and even now against the power of the Indian state. Because if we win our freedom, like Bhai Jagraj Singh said, if we win our freedom, we're going to say, why are those people not free? Yeah. Let's send our army into this country. We don't want their oil in return. We just want to give them freedom. We've got to understand, Guru Nanak Dev Ji was the first Sikh political prisoner. Guru Nanak Dev Ji went to jail for his ideals. He was imprisoned by the rulers at that time. Our fifth Guru gave his life for his ideals. So this isn't just up in the air. This is the whole aspect of Sikhi from the start to finish.
Same thesis that's travelled down.
Don't you think, I mean, you know how you're saying about understanding sort of your role in society, and you know, you essentially need to create a mode of our own way of rule, right?
Yeah.
But to do that, my understanding of, I only did like one module in philosophy, but my understanding is that you can actually opt out of the social contract, because at the moment we're subordinate to it, but we're predisposed to be subordinate to it because no one actually understands what it is. So isn't the first thing to really do, to move towards that political ideal, to actually educate each other and say, well, actually, we have the choice to opt out of this political contract and we can choose to act in our own right. And if we do get brought into court of law for doing what we think is right, then we can claim the state of nature and say that we're acting under humanity and not under our own sovereignty and not under the sovereignty of the state.
If the guy gets done for slaughtering some
Albanian, he can actually claim to not be arrested.
But it won't happen. It's going to be vigilantism. It's going to be killing somebody. In this country, murder is a crime, regardless of whom it is. The police, even if they murder somebody, get done for it. Okay, so it's not like India. Murder is only a crime if you get done by it, and if you don't happen to be strong enough to get away with it, right? That's when it's a crime. Otherwise, you can get away with anything. You can be a Bollywood star, drive over the pavement, drive over a few people that were sleeping there, and you can get away with this stuff. This is not how the Sikh are it. But we are opting out the social contract. I am an armed person. I've opted out of the ideal that the police and the army are the ones that are armed. I've chosen to be armed. Have I already opted out the social contract?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what's amazing is that here the Guru, Khalsa Panth, has got a special exemption for opting out out of the normal state, social contract. So we can be armed. But if we use that weapon at any point, regardless of what it's for, good or bad, we can get done for it. It's a weapon when it's used. Prior to that, it's just an article of faith. So let's do it for the right thing. Once we use it for the right things, even if we go to jail, who cares? What did we expect? They're gonna, we said the Khalsa is supposed to be free and fearless and suffer the misfortune that will come. Well, this path is not a nice path. It ain't gonna mean you're gonna get when you walk on this path, it's not everyone's gonna fall at your feet. By the Jawara, he's from one man in the jail inspired the whole Panth. What do we think is gonna happen? When the next person stands up to fight against injustice, what are they gonna get? They're gonna suffer, isn't it? Aren't they? Baisa's own father went to prison for 5 years. So we're going to have to suffer and love that suffering. That's dukkadaru sukharog paya. What do we look for? Life is going to end for everybody. Agree? Everybody's life is going to end. So at the end of that life, you've got two options. Guru Gobind Singh comes for you, or Randeji comes for you, or he doesn't come for you because you didn't bother. Whether it's long or short, it makes no difference. It makes no difference long or short. Guru Har Krishan Sahib Ji was very young. At 8 years old, they passed away. Do we think they didn't get such kind? We long for a long life, Guruji says there. Everybody searches for a long life. Why don't we just long for Guru to give us that prasad? That's only going to come if you follow his path. Because life doesn't make a difference long or short. Any more questions?
Not a question, sorry.
Sorry.
Also, because I agree with being armed, I would like to learn that myself. But also in terms of, that is one step as well, but there's also other steps you can take in terms of, making yourself politically aware, look at a local level, do you recycle, how are you helping the planet, maybe getting involved in the RSPCC, or the RSPCA. So there are many levels and steps, towards that just society. So yeah.
No, it's many ways. Absolutely. The funny thing is, there's actually a hukamnama floating around. I'm not sure what the exact background, but it's called the 52 Hukams of Guru Gobind Singh Ji from Nanded. It's worthwhile reading it. Most of the stuff I totally agree with. I was like, yes, particular. One of the hukams was to learn politics, study politics. Rajniti is called in Punjabi, to Rajniti Sikho. Now, somebody funny enough on a Sikh website said, what's that all about? Why do Sikhs need to study politics? It's like, come on, if you don't study politics, how do you know how the world works? What's the problem here? None of us know anything about Punjab politics. We haven't got a clue how the SPC is made, how it's structured, how is the Punjab politics work. We don't even know what happened in 47. Why did the Sikhs at that time choose to go to India? One of the way of looking at it is because Punjab, if it was as big as it wanted to be, Haryana and Ambala, what would the Sikhs have been in that country? 20% of the population. What was the model that was being fostered upon the Sikhs? Democracy. 20% of people in a democratic country are nobody. They're nowhere. Yeah? This is a problem, isn't it? And at that time, what had the British done for 150 years? Divide and rule. They separated society into Hindus versus Sikhs versus Muslims. So once you've got the sectarian division, and you give people freedom to vote, everybody, equal votes, and then you give people a Raj, we would have been, you know, whatever. The people at that time, they made decisions, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but they made decisions, they're more complex than how we make them out to be now. Okay? And politics is important to understand that. So when I said now in the Khalsa Panth, we don't have this idea of democracy. Who is the one who rules the Khalsa Panth? The Khalsa. Yeah? So in the Panth at the moment, we have, and if you go to Gurdwara and say, well, your committee should all be Amritdhari, they'll say, why? That's not right. We're all people here, we're all Sikhs here. Then that's not following the Khalsa Panth ideal. Right? But also, who is that Khalsa to be? Is it just somebody who takes somebody? No. We need to be the people that are able to act in the Panch Pyari. We need people who are up every morning. We need people who are memorizing their Baniya, who do it every day. You memorize your Bani if you do it every day. It's like, you know, sing hip-hop tune every day. There's no way you're not going to know the words. I still know now, 15 years, so I heard that. You sing me, put NWA tape on, I'll rap along to every line, put Biggie Smalls on, Tupac, I know the words. It's in my head. I was the president of the Hip Hop Society at Oxford University. I set it up.
But it's also not repeating, you know, Gurbani like a parrot, because that's...
No. Look, Gurbani is beyond. If you want to know something, go to Gurbani, find the answer. Maharaj says all the time, don't just repeat like a parrot. Think about it, that's why it's vichar. We're doing vichar here right now. We're taking parts of Gurbani, we're taking them, applying to our life, and thinking about them. So, any more questions?
I had just one. It's really interesting. You mentioned, like, at the beginning that you were sort of hoping to roll this out to sort of Gurdwara, and just I wanted to know a bit more about, you know, what your ideas were going forward with taking this course, because I mean, I found that really interesting.
But this is not the course. This is
not
something.
This course,
okay.
But
basically, I wrote a 12-week course, which is covering Sikh history from Guru Nanak Dev Ji to now, and it's called the WhyGuru Course. Why did the Guru come? What was the point? And what is Sikh? And the 12-week course, there's a video about it on our YouTube channel. You can watch like how it works, the intros, but basically, in summary, is history from beginning to now, covering every part. And also, there's 4 separate topics. One is just about Simran and the concept of merging with the divine. Some of that was covered today. One is just purely about Guru Granth Sahib Ji. What's inside Guru Granth Sahib Ji? How is it structured? Because like majority of people don't know. They never even opened up Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Then we talk about the Khalsa ideal. Some of this was covered today. What is the Khalsa meant to do, but in a bit more detail. And then how did Amrit actually take place? What happened at that time in 69? Quite an important time for us. If it's the epitome of Guru's vision, we need to understand it. And then finally, Kirtan. Like myself here, is going to talk about Kirtan is very important to us. It's the biggest gift ever given to us. And that blew, you know, Ishunti was there. It blew a lot of people away, how deep it is. So it's not just covering just the... And this course is now going to go online. And the idea will be that if you're in your community somewhere like Oxford, for example, you know, Mandeep is here, then you do the course online, you study it in your own time, you learn the lesson, then you come together and you have a discussion group like we're having now. 10 people watch the video, they sit together, discuss it, any question that came out of that. And the facilitators don't have to know everything, they can just discuss it amongst themselves, because vichar is very important. But think about it, once you leave university, where do you do vichar? Nowhere. The Gurdwaras, you can't just walk into a Gurdwara and say, Pastor, tell me something about the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, or I have a question, who do I ask? This system has gone out of our community. Yeah? So we need to bring vichar back in, the study groups. But where is the knowledge coming from? So I'm not like the fount of all knowledge. This is the real basic stuff. But the point is that it's just online. You know, you watch it in your own time. You flip the classroom, learn online, discuss separately. And hopefully, we're trying to get people to say, like, if we get 50 people to give $1,000 a year, then we can hire 2 people, and I'll be working for free. And we get somebody working up in the Midlands, somebody up in the north. And we're trying to get this course into every Gurdwara, every university. So if you want to know about Sikhi, 12-week course, you know the basics. Yeah? Watch the videos online, learn a bit of Japji Sahib, study the videos, got the history. You feel confident about what it is that Guru Sahib has come to teach you. And if it affects you, and you fall in love with your Guru, and you know Sikhi is contagious, sickness, yeah? You can catch it, right? So you've been warned. If you fall in love with your Guru, then you're going to follow Sikhi. That's what it's about. Guru Sahib is amazing. Without doubt, it's amazing. So you're gonna fall in love. So But that's what our job is to teach what the Guru said and what was their life like. At the moment, the Gurbani session, Japji Sahib, is just about Guru, the Bani. But we need to study their lives as well. You know, what did they do? Because they lived that. The Bani was inside them, fully buried, but they lived some certain ways. They did actions. So those set the examples of how we should react. So,
I think on that note, we'll end it there.
WhyGuru, WhyGuru, WhyGuru.